Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, we'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 3 of the anime series One Punch Man. And holy crap, man. Once again, this episode delivers in spades with the hilarity and the action. I absolutely loved at the start of this episode, you're getting the backstory, effectively, the entire backstory on this mad scientist. And he is a proper mad scientist, like something out of 50s sci-fi, he's basically sociopathic in that he completely hates his fellow man, all beings great and small he considers to be ignoramuses, a plague to be wiped out. He's taken it upon himself to be the focal point of evolution and looking into something grander. It takes him all of his 70 years before he finally unlocks something at the genetic level that can reverse his own aging process. He creates hundreds of clones of himself in the House of Evolution, where he then starts gene splicing all of these animal kind with humankind, mashups and everything, which is where we saw the animal force, the zoo force, if you will, in the last episode, which, of course, Saitama and Genos both took out with ease. And all of this ends up being sort of the prologue flashback being told to them by the ape guy. They still got him embedded in the wall of this building. And you have Genos, for all intents and purposes, pulling a Saitama like he did in the last episode. 20 words or less. Come on, Master's got somewhere to be. There's a sale on in the store down the road. And I'm just like, oh, man. It was hilarious to me because, of course, then we see that this scientist, Genos, that's not going to get confusing, Genos, I've already kind of mixed them up in my head a little bit. But in any case, we were wondering who this super normal, number one, toughest, badass guy in the House of Evolution might be if it wasn't one of these ones that already visited Saitama and Genos in the previous episode. And sure enough, it's this guy, Carnage Kabuto, who looks like, for all intents and purposes, a giant dung beetle, at least to me. And basically you have this scientist being like, look, this is the guy I want. I want a sample of him. I want to figure out how he's so strong. I mean, that's been the question all along, especially for me as a viewer. What exactly is it? What training regimen? What special powers? I mean, if it took place in, the DC universe, did kryptonite fall out from the sky and bed itself up his butt, and that's how Saitama is so powerful? I don't know. I want to know what the secret is, and so do all of these characters in this episode. When they finally find the House of Evolution, it's hilarious because you have Genos just sort of doing the Hulk power clap and taking out the entirety of this building. And it's only after they find there's like a hatchway into the basement that Saitama himself is kind of like, oh, I'm getting excited. There's people down here. Let's rock. And we basically see, as Saitama puts it, once they have their first encounter with Carnage Kabuto and he's put Genos into the wall, he's like, you've turned my friend into a work of art. He's like ticked. They end up in this giant room, this giant corridor, and this is where finally we have the reveal. What is it that led One Punch Man to become so uber powerful? And we have all these three people, myself included as the viewer, like just on the edge of my seat. I want to hear every detail. Well, apparently over 3 years, he did 100 push-ups every day, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, ran 10 miles a day, ate 3 meals a day, suffered through the summertime with no AC, even though he wanted to die and wanted to give up every other day, every minute of every day. He kept going and going and going and going. He did this for 3 years until he went bald. And that's how he was powerful. That's how he got all this power. Okay. Is there no secret involved in there somewhere? And of course, they don't believe it. None of these three believe it. Carnage Kabuto, Genos, and Genos, like none of them believe this. And at one point, you had Carnage Kabuto about to go from behind, attack Saitama from behind, and he could sense the power resonating off of him. So how he gets up the gumption to sort of Hulk out himself. I mean, he goes from looking like a dung beetle to kind of like merging that persona with like the main Eva from Evangelion, the purple aesthetic. And he's amping up his power to uber powerful norms, He's becoming gigantic in and of himself. He's taking up half this freaking gigantic room. And he just starts laying the smackdown on Saitama. I mean, he's throwing One Punch around like he's a rag doll. And One Punch is starting to realize, because this guy's like, I'm going to go on a killing rampage for the next week. And by the way, is it just me, or does he sound like a Japanese Clancy Brown? For those familiar with the Superman series, speaking of which, the guy who voiced Lex Luthor, he's in Shawshank Redemption. That's what Carnage Kabuto sounded like to me anyway. But you know, he's threatening he's going to destroy the city for the next week after he's done wiping the floor with one punch. And he's like, wait a minute, today is Saturday. That means a week from now would be Saturday. Today's Saturday. And then he just all out now loses it because today is sale day. And that's when he finally gets the one punch in and takes out Carnage Kabuto with the one hit, leaving Genos just like, it was all for naught. Who was I kidding? I just spent like 80 years developing all this stuff, and it's like this one guy comes in one day and just destroys all. And they're, you know, basically one punch, and Genos running off to get to the store before 10 p.m. I loved it. I love this series. 3 for 3, just excellent episodes thus far, as of the time of this recording, of course. And I can't wait to see where we go from here. They're promising a ninja character. I don't know who that's going to be. I don't know what the ramifications of that's going to be, if that's somebody we've seen in the OP or not, which just the more I see of the OP, it's like my favorite of the season so far, out of all the anime I've been covering and watching, whatever like that. But we also see that there are these two almost like Men in Black types, but of course they're not wearing the black, but they're reporting on that point, the aftermath of that point where, you know, Genos had done that thunderclap and wiped out the building and all the destruction he wrought. And so somebody's after him, and it's weird. It's like, I'm wondering if we're going to find out a twist in his history where maybe he is the cyborg he imagines he's chasing, the cyborg that rampaged and killed his family and all this kind of stuff. Maybe he's got like a psychic block, something internally where he doesn't understand that it was him, and he's like chasing forever this apparition of somebody who turns out to be him. I don't know, just my speculation. But because he even asks the ape once again, and you see the ape's head open up at the start of the episode. He's got the little radar beep 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 beep, you know, he's gonna like let Genos know that they're on their way and everything. But he's even putting it to him, you know, are there any more cyborgs in the House of Evolution? Was there one 4 years ago and all this stuff? And so that does intrigue me. It does make me wonder and suspect maybe there's more going on with Genos, you know, that we've been led to believe thus far. But in any case, bring on the next episode already. You know, it's like the week span, put it that way, between this and the next episode is always going to be leaving me weighted with bated breath, because it's just absolutely hilarious. It's the high point, the delight of my day to watch this show and just be like laughing my ass off. And also captivated by the aspects of the story. Like, you know, we hear the backstory of this scientist, and it's like I say, you know, proper mad scientist in that 1950s sci-fi aesthetic, which I'm a lifelong fan of sci-fi and everything like that. And that coinciding with the very sort of makes no sense training regimen that led Saitama to become One Punch and all that kind of stuff, and the motivations. At the one point where Genos goes up against Carnage Kabuto and he ends up with giant like yellow fro out of it. Just the show is too hilarious. And so yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 3 of One Punch Man, if you've seen it. If you are familiar with the manga, which I am not, no spoilers please, but post in the comments below if the translation from manga to anime has been, you know, through the roof, if it's lacking, if they're skipping anything or leaving anything out, reorganizing, whatever the case may be. I'm always curious about the translation from manga page to anime form, and otherwise, whether you're familiar with it or not. Let me know if you were you know, as excited by and enjoyed as much as I did this particular episode. If not, why not? Let me know in the comments below. Love having the conversation with you guys. Can agree to disagree, see things from our own POVs, and just love having that conversation. So yeah, otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace. Genos, as in genocide, the cyborg. Genos, as in genius, the mad scientist. I'll learn it eventually.